that's you.
Set Joe's here, right?
Okay.
Set Joe.
Joe's here?
Yeah. 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 And so I'm instruments though, but I haven't sit here for Sazen, so leave it open.
So, can I just do a temperature check? It seems like the humidity is building up, so should I post them? Okay, so I'm not a good I have no regulation of temperature, but yeah, that's important to pay attention to those of us who don't. And so, this is where
This is such a, yeah, okay. You're here.
we would say that during the recession operator, or we would all do that. This is so confusing.
But she'd be sitting there anyway, right?
She's
Oh, she's coming, yes, we will say. Oh, I'm so sorry.
welcome to the Buddhist Temple of Toledo. Please be seated and turn to page 2 in your liturgy book. Kata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all. Nikaya 3 Refuges. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. I take refuge The 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. This precious human life, rarely encountered, is easily lost. Now that I have life and opportunity, may I practice the Dharma wholeheartedly. Mahayana Refuge. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. Invocation of the lineage. I give thanks for the guidance of my teachers, for the lineage of teachers before them. I give thanks and offerings for their devoted practice of generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyful effort, concentration, wisdom, skillful means, unshakable vow, spiritual powers, and awakened awareness for my benefit. May their years of life be lengthened, may their vows be completely realized, and may I cultivate these perfections with their guidance. 7 practices of the Bodhisattva. I bow down in body, speech, and mind. I offer the best I have to give, both real and imagined, to fill the space between us. I regret and purify all transgressions. I rejoice in all virtues. I request you to remain until total enlightenment. I request wise and compassionate guidance. I dedicate my merit for the sake of all beings. Generating love and compassion. May all sentient beings be free from clinging and hatred. Being close to some and distant from others, how wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from clinging and hatred. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness in the causes of happiness. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them happiness in the causes of happiness. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from suffering and the causes of suffering. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings have a joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from clinging, hatred, jealousy, miserliness, doubt, pride, wrong view, ignorance, and dualistic thoughts. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them to this state. Bless me to accomplish this. Please stand for the Heart Sutra, found on page 4 in your liturgy book. Great Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva practicing deep Prajna Paramita clearly saw that all 5 skandhas are empty, transforming all suffering and distress. Shariputra form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form, form is exactly emptiness, emptiness exactly form, sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness are also like this. Shariputra, all things are essentially empty, not torn, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness, no eye, ear, no sound, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, object of thought, no seeing, and so on to no thinking, no ignorance, and also no ending of ignorance, and so on to no old age and death, and also no ending of old age and death, no suffering, cause of suffering, cessation path, no wisdom and no attainment, since there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva lives by Prajna Paramita with no hindrance mind no hindrance, and therefore no fear, far beyond elusive thinking. Right here is nirvana, all Buddhas of past, present, and future live by prajna paramita, attaining anuttara samyak sambodhi. Therefore know that prajna paramita is the great sacred mantra, the great vivid mantra, the unsurpassed mantra, the supreme mantra which completely removes all suffering. This is truth, not mere formality. Therefore set forth the prajna paramita mantra. Set forth this mantra and proclaim Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Bodhisvaha Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Bodhisvaha Gate Gate Para Gate Parasam Gate Bodhisvaha. Infinite realms of light and dark convey the Buddha mind. All that is and we ourselves come forth in perfect harmony. We offer this sincere and devoted practice for the many beings of the six worlds and dedicate it in grateful thanks to the strength and sound practice of the great Heartland Sangha and its teachers. May our virtuous actions be clear from all interferences, and may our vows be fully realized. We especially dedicate these merits to Jackie, Mike, Joe, Hazel, Soke, Roger, Debbie, Sandra, and Emma. May they have peace and healing. Aka, Daitoku, Adele, and Dave for safe travels. Jessica, Donna, Mike, Keeson at the time of their death, as well as those suffering from cruelty, calamity, injustice, and war. And to those whose names we hold in the silence of our hearts, as well as those who we now voice aloud. May we live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma, and may we realize the Buddha way together. All Dharma school teachers and students, please all proceed to class. Everyone else, please prepare for Zazen. sound of the clappers. First and third rows from the center aisle, please turn to your right. Second and fourth, turn to your left. We will now recite the Sangha Covenant, found on page 8 of your liturgy book. We, the Daishin Kokuji Sangha, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the wisdom and compassion we seek to cultivate by practice, and with deep gratitude for the teachers of this lineage and our connection to one another, covenant to support each other by upholding the precepts of doing no harm, practicing good, and actualizing good for others. Please be seated, sit comfortably, and face all toward the altar. And in a moment, we will recite the Gatan opening the sutra, also found on page 8. Gata on opening the sutra. The Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered even in millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
Good morning. My name is Jakai. Here we are. Our teachers have asked Soan and I to speak today about the precepts and how they've evolved in our lives. And as many of you know, the Jukai initiates are going through an intensive process right now of working through the precepts. And these foundational moral and ethical teachings. And Soan and I just got to have the experience of really looking back in our own notes from that time and thinking about that in terms of where we are now. Just for a little context, I took the Jukai precepts in 2019, and Tenzin is one of my Jukai mates. Seems so long ago, and reflecting back on it, it was really kind of profound, like a little earth-shattering, to see how the precepts have evolved over time and how practice has evolved over time. One of the things our teachers have been working with us to develop, we talk often of the temple calendar, of the temple schedule, of the mandala that is the training wheel for temple. And in that, no matter where we are in the mandala and in our own practice and training, there's an initiation where what we're doing really is listening, studying, applying, receiving, and applying this to our own lives. And that's where our Jukai initiates are at right now. And then there's an empowerment. And I just want to read what I wrote on August 15th, 2019. And these were what I wrote as Rinsen's words. The robe helps you find your authentic path. Very powerful, passed down person to person for 87 known generations. Carries heart of the Dharma. Open your heart. Awaken to the moment. And so the robe that he was talking about was the Raksu. And those words are so profound to me still, and I could barely get past thoughts of taking refuge, the first 3 precepts of taking refuge, in thinking about speaking to you all today, because I can't imagine my life without taking refuge. And the opportunity to practice and keep returning to taking refuge just keeps unfolding. And I think of this, our teachers often use the language of the great mystery of the Dharma, the great mystery of our practice. And I was kind of laughing, thinking I could just say it's a great mystery and be done. That would help the quaking in my stomach right now. But the first 3 precepts, oneness, diversity, harmony. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. And for me, taking refuge in the Buddha, I think it was the hardest thing for me to understand. I came from a tradition that was very focused on God. And God, I don't know if it was intended, but my understanding was God was a very external, all-encompassing being. And so when I was thinking of taking refuge in Buddha, it was at the time that I went through my Jukai process, for me, such an external thing. I could see our teachers and they're full awakened beings and all they do to combust their lives. And I had no idea then how totally enormous that was. But I could trust them and I could hear them talk about as awakened beings because of their presence and the solidness of their teachings. I could trust in the lineage, even though it was very unfamiliar to me. But this business of sitting with my own true nature at the time, and in a possibility that I could come to awakening in my lifetime or some lifetime, I think I experienced that as impossible at the time that I took the precepts. I aspired to it, but I was looking, maybe impossible isn't the right word. It was so distant, it was so, I couldn't taste it. And I think that as I practice more and my own practice deepens and I settle into refuge, taking refuge in Buddha, that sitting with my own true nature, being seen by you, sitting with myself and trusting. Sensei did a teaching. I had only come to temple a few times before I started the Jukai process, and she had done a class, the class on the Lam Rim. It was a 5-day class, and I was somehow fortunate and mysteriously lucky enough to come into that class. And on the first day, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. This is what we learned. And I think it was about 3 days of the 5 days it took us to get through this teaching. But the teaching, the thing that was the most profound to me was about my precious human life. And it made it somehow the Dharma pulling me to my precious human life. But I didn't think my life was so precious. And I'm not sure I thought I deserved the Dharma or refuge. And so it was really hard for me to relate to. And a part of what comes up for me is the teachings that, we receive all the time about no separation, dualistic thinking. And in speaking to you today, I could be counting all the ways I could screw up. In doing the liturgy positions, I could think of all the ways I could screw up and have. Or I could just lean into this moment and experience the oneness as everyone was walking Kenhin and sitting this morning, and just the power of the oneness of the Sangha. It's so deep and so powerful. And so I guess, let's see, I've spent all of my time on this, but this taking refuge also in Dharma and Sangha. I'd like to share one other story, and I think I'm just going to talk about these few things. A couple weeks ago, might have been last week, it all runs together. There was a clergy retreat, and I was running late coming, and I was riding my bike, and my bike ride is about 8 miles. And I actually wasn't feeling great that day, and I was riding as fast as I could to get here, and I got here just in time, and the clergy were starting to sit. And before the afternoon retreat began, and as soon as I sat in the zendo, there was this cacophony of birds and this settling in to practice. And in that moment, what I realized is I had just ridden my bike 8 miles, and I had not heard a single bird. And don't you know, that same cacophony of birds was everywhere along my path. And the Dharma is like that in our practice, that it's a moment by moment kind of practice. And when we miss the moment, I think it's Daido Lori says, we miss our lives. And so taking refuge in the Dharma. And then taking refuge in Sangha, oh my gosh, the spiritual friendships, I start weeping as I talk about this too. As many of you know, I came to my practice with a brain injury and sometimes have pretty big symptoms that come up for me with the brain injury. Losing my words, needing to lean on the wall, a little bit of vertigo, headaches, a lot of fatigue. And sometimes the hardest thing I do is come to Sunday service during the week because there's so much motion and so much going on, and my brain sometimes has a hard time orienting to it. And I wouldn't miss it for the world. Like, it's exactly where I want to be. And I had to take some extended time off this spring because of a setback with my health. And I was on rest practice. I was on deep rest practice. But I got so disconnected during that time that I was having a hard time knowing what rest practice was and what my practice was. Like, how do I practice with this? And I came back on a Wednesday, and Reverend Shokai was giving a talk, and I think I was sitting right there in one of those seats and cushions. And during that talk, I just had this total ease and joy of settling in and realizing my practice needs the Sangha. And my practice needs to be in the Zendo. And my practice needs to be engaged, even when I feel like I don't have the words and I don't want to be seen. There is a palpable richness in what refuge is when you are here with community and you are sitting in the Zendo. And so, as a way of encouragement, I would just say that we all make 1,000 mistakes. I think of Rinzin Roshi saying, "Let the mistakes begin." As I took this seat today, we make mistakes. We have difficulties in our lives. We have illness. We have loss. We have all kinds of struggles. But when we can actually get here and connect with each other, the way that the Sangha holds our practice and the refuge that's here is so powerful. And for our friends who are watching online, the ways that you can connect with our distance community, please take those opportunities, because it enriches practice so much. It's always lovely when you sniff in the microphone. I'm sorry. I think that I'm gonna close with saying something about the 3 pure precepts. And I did it again, oh my gosh. Ceasing from evil, practicing good, and saving all beings, healing myself and others, saving all beings. One of the things that that we do in our practice at Temple, and that our teachers model for us, and hopefully we model for one another in meetings and things that we do together at Temple. The Tenzos have an amazing practice of this, is the setting of intentions and the dedication of merit. And if I could encourage anything besides really leaning into a daily practice, it would be taking that time to, when you wake up in the morning, set your intention. When you go to bed at night, dedicate the merit. There are 100 times in between in the middle of the day to do the same thing, but take the time to do that, because it brings our practice back into our lives. It brings our practice, keeps our practice alive. And the other way that for me, I keep these pure precepts alive, that keeps coming up in my work at Temple right now, is asking the question that Roshi often asks us, and that is what you're doing wholesome? And if you take that one step further and you ask, is this wholesome, and would I do this in front of Sangha? Would I do it in front of my teachers? Would I do it in front of my spouse, or would I make a different choice? And this question for me, combined a lot with what does the Temple need and what does the Sangha need, it's a very simple way for me to ground myself in these precepts and to consider them in a moment by moment. We have so many choices, don't we? Every day, what we say with our words, what we eat, what we drink, where we go, what we do with our time, the habits that we have. And asking this question for me helps me step out of some of my habits and into my practice and into my connection with the precepts. I've spoken.
My name is Sohan, and it's really great to be here and be able to to sit up here and see this view for a change, and because you all look really, really, really amazing. So when we were asked to talk about how the precepts show up in our own practice, I sort of took that as at first as kind of an easy task, because of course it's the precepts, you know. I took the precepts like 6 years ago, and thought that I really wouldn't have to prepare for this talk. But right now, especially after seeing Jukai's notes, she has all these notes, and I have these notes. I was a little nervous, but no. So I sort of feel like doing a book report on a book that I read 7 years ago. But the precepts now, like my place in practice is I have this black robe on, which is indicating that I'm in a year of publicly discerning on whether to become on track for ordination. So that's where I'm at. So it seems like I should be a pretty kind of an expert at the precepts. And of course, the precepts are always in the background until somebody brings up something about the precepts, and then I like search through all the stuff I know about the precepts, and it's like, well, okay, and it turns into this mental game of getting the precepts in the right slots, so that when I talk to somebody, encounter other folks, that you know, I can be a halfway decent human being instead of a complete idiot. And so the first pure precept, do no harm, like when I think that's the one I focus on most of all. It's the first one that comes up. But it's always like not doing some outside harm, you know, like driving recklessly or getting mad at somebody, or it took a while to realize that like doing harm, it's like, don't do harm to yourself first, because it's like really easy to do harm to yourself and not even know it. So, you know, like just being distracted by the distractions, you're really kind of harming yourself, because you're not being true to your true nature. You're not being your true nature. You're just sort of spinning my wheels. And then practicing good, or practicing the Dharma, that seems like that one's kind of easy, until actually like really doing it like selflessly and completely practicing good. Instead of planning on practicing good and like matching up with your plan on practicing good, it's sort of like, if that makes sense, to actually practice the Dharma. And so living in the question, how do I practice the Dharma? What am I doing to practice the Dharma? And that's sort of how that precept shows up. And actualizing good for others, which eventually translates to save all beings, the impossible tasks that were given to save all beings. And it's even added later down in the thing, all beings through space and time. We have to save, we're asked to save them. And how do you do that? So, I don't know. It's like after first receiving the precepts, we come here, we hear about the precepts. We don't have a robe or nothing. We hear about the precepts, and then the next thing is to publicly receive the precepts, which is Jukai class. And there's really not a lot of, there's something in the public declaration of that, but even before the public declaration of taking on the precepts, we hear about the precepts and can still practice doing no harm, still practice the Dharma, and still practice doing good for others. And so after time, that seems like that it evolves more than like instead of a set of rules that we get, sort of like the 10 Commandments, the 10 grave precepts. Instead of a set of rules, it starts to show up automatically the longer you practice, the more you sit, the longer you study, the longer you come in and hear Dharma talks. It becomes part of you. Like, I didn't used to save spiders. I would squash them. Now I see a spider on the wall, I get a glass, save the spider. I know it's a small example, but the severe arachnophobia from 10 years ago it's no longer present. I mean, it's just not there. Or honking the horn when a squirrel's in the road. It automatically happens now. It's automatic thing. The first grave precept, do not kill. Again, a small example, but so how to get this all integrated into my life? That's how these precepts are like showing up. And today I got to sit in with the Jukai class, so I was like steeped in precepts this morning, because those folks are like rock stars in there. Comparing our Jukai class in 2018 to these guys, I'm thinking, no, wait a minute, we were slackers. Because, huh? I was a slacker. Okay. Yeah, so, so let's give some other examples. I got some kind of lame examples of squirrels and spiders and anger. Here is the program from the 2018. Yes, yeah, I know. And transforming suffering into wisdom. I vow to take up the way of non-indulging in anger. We took that vow. And that vow sounds a little different than, well, I promise not to get mad anymore. Taking up the way of not indulging in anger sounds a lot different than I promise not to get mad. So the self-nature is subtle and mysterious. In the realm of the selfless Dharma, not contriving reality for the self is called the precept of not indulging in anger. Not advancing, not retreating, not real, not empty. There's an ocean of bright clouds, and there is an ocean of solemn clouds. And this is what practicing these precepts is for me. It's kind of bright and cloudy at the same time. And, the main thing now is to take another dive back into these, because studying this, preparing for this talk, it's like somebody rewrote these things. And so it's just this whole business of practicing the precepts. That's like our handle into the Dharma. The precepts aren't the end all of our practice. It is our practice, but it's not the end. I mean, we're here for awakening. I think that's really the main reason everybody's here. Unless there are some people here that are into other people's awakening. There might be a few folks that are doing that. And I think that everybody in the room, know it or not. So, like I said, Jukai's notes were way better than mine, and so I just want to encourage everybody to sit every day. Sit every day. Think about the precepts. They're probably not going to be up in your mind all the time, but they show up at times when you don't even think about it. Don't spare the Dharma assets. I used to think that meant don't burn too much incense. Yeah. So, what?
Of course you did.
So really, you all are the Dharma assets. We are the Dharma assets. We're the Dharma. So whatever you do, just be the Dharma. I've spoken. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma
thank you everyone for joining us today, both in person and online. This concludes our striving portion of the service. Are there any announcements?